Hi folks, Rob here with 96 is your fix version 2.0. Now some people have tried the 96 fix as explained in the first video production I put out. Some have had success, some have not. Some people have come down on me because they want absolute proof before I go sharing this stuff with the public. I don't believe that's the case. I think you have a duty to do your own due diligence, and it's not like Microsoft makes sure they have a perfect product before they release it. And at least this way a whole lot of people can start trying different things. Now I have been doing some studying, and I've been talking to some people who have tried it, Doug Larson particularly, and we have had discussions concerning this on what is lacking from the first one. Now bear in mind, I very firmly believe that this is a valid process and that it can be used to discharge obligations that come with a remittance. I think if you examine it, this remittance option, as it is, or as it could be called, exists all the time. And it exists because the companies who are demanding payment from you generate revenue and profit by accessing things that belong to you. Now there has been a number of mistakes, but I think we have a pretty good idea of where we went wrong and what we can do now to fix it. So what we're going to do is we're going to re-examine the whole issue. I do have people who are going to be going through this process, so by the time you watch this on YouTube, you can bet that someone is doing it. Someone is trying it. Now, a number of the problems that I've noticed is that the Minister of Finance's mandate doesn't cover what we are asking him to do. I've seen letters where they would they would write back and they would say, "I wish we could help you, but our mandate doesn't allow it." Now they didn't say no. Essentially what they're coming and saying is, "I want to do it for you, but I don't have the tools. Give me the tools and I can do it." So that's one thing that was a potential problem. The other problem is that there might not be an actual account associated with the birth certificate, but that birth certificate does point to the right to draw from an actual existing account. And the other thing is, you have to mark the remittance in a proper manner and from a position of authority. So bearing all that in mind, let's look at the situation all over again, and I'll explain to you the steps that people are going to be taking now. Now, the problems with the other one, 5 main problems that we found. 1, no mandate. 2, they were incorrectly marked. There was no previous claim. People were trying to draw from the wrong account or a non-existent account, and there was no witness. So 96 is your fix version 2.0 seeks to address all of these. Now the process is, or the concept of being able to use a remittance as a remittance is clearly lawful. It's certainly there. But just because you have an account somewhere doesn't mean that you don't have to do the proper things to access it. Now, in order to increase the mandate, the Minister of Finance writes back and says he doesn't have a mandate to do that, but he's not saying that you don't have the ability or the power to increase his mandate. So in order to fix that, what we're going to do is we're going to increase his mandate. We're going to give him the mandate. Now, bear this in mind. He works for apparently the government, right? His mandate as it stands now was a function of what the people in the government told him he can do. But they never said we can't tell him what to do. It seems to me that we have the power to increase his mandate and to serve him a notice of increase of mandate. So we're going to send him a notice empowering him and increasing his mandate. Can you read that? Yeah. Notice of mandate. Now, also these things that we were sending out, perhaps they were incorrectly marked. One thing I didn't mention to people is that this option that is available, the remittance option, it's only available to the end user, to the consumer. So you have to mark upon your document that it is a consumer purchase. And this means you're not accepted. If you get a bill and you're operating a corporation, say, you can't use it because it's not a consumer purchase. You're not the end user. Now, there is no claim as well. And therefore, prior to serving these documents, you have to make a claim. And this claim is going to be establishing your ability to actually correctly mark it and to access the account that we're going to be accessing, and to increase the mandate of the Minister of Finance. So we're going to do a claim of right to address all of those things. Now, the wrong account, the big problem is people were pointing at the number on the birth certificate, mistakenly believing that this is the account from which we will draw from. And that's not the case. That account evidences your right, or the fact that you have paid into a different account, and we have to access the proper account. And that account is the Consolidated Revenue Fund. Now, I've already spoken to a lawyer for the federal government concerning our right and our ability to access the Consolidated Revenue Fund. And bear in mind, right now there's a surplus of like $5 billion there. I've mentioned our right to access it in order to meet our basic fundamental needs and to make use of the remittance option, or the 96 option. There was no argument from that lawyer concerning our right to do that. Because whose money is it? When it all boils down to it, it doesn't belong to the people in the government. It belongs to us. And if they've got a right to access it, to buy for themselves $500 office chairs or trips abroad, in order to do things which are clearly luxuries, then certainly we have the right to access the Consolidated Revenue Fund to pay for things that we need to live. So instead of going after the account evidenced by the birth certificate, we're going to go after the Consolidated Revenue Fund. Now, for witness, what needs to be done, and again, this is part of correctly marking it, what we're going to do is we're going to take a $1 Canadian stamp, and we're going to put that on it, and we're going to sign across that. Now, what we do by doing that is we draw the Postmaster General in as a witness, and it ends up being our stamp. So we're going to put the Postmaster General as a witness, and when we mark it, we're going to put that in the box where it's marked teller stamp. Because the other thing we're going to do when we do all of this, one of the claims, part of the claim of right that we send out, is we are going to be acting as a teller for the Bank of Canada. So now when you send this thing off to them, to the people who are demanding payment, and you're making use of this option, now you're